Congo Republic when I was 7 to 8 years old. I'm not quite sure about my age. And then the second time I escaped my country was in 1983, and that is the reason I'm here today. My father came from a very poor family. This is a poor in Africa. That the family cannot afford to buy clothes, cannot afford to buy food to the kids. And my father came from a Dinka tribe. He has 3 brothers. And in Dinka tribe, if you want to get married, you pay car for the dowry to the damn family. And when my father realized that he cannot marry and he cannot make a family, he decided to leave the village and go to the town in 1921 when the British came to our area to work for the British. And he worked for them, and then after a few months, they hired him to work as a police officer. When he retired, he went back home, and he was the only one in the village to send his kid to school because he learned the value of education. So I was lucky in a family that has access to education. I have 4 brothers, 3 of them are still alive, and my brother that was killed during the Civil War. The first war, when it started, I was very young, and one of my brothers was in the movement fighting against the government, and the government was coming to us as a big punishment because they were against people who were fighting against them. So I had to escape by myself, 7 to 8 years old, and you can imagine to stay a child like that. My child, I went to Congo, and then came back, stayed in Sudan for 10 years. In 1983, we had a second war, and that was a terrible war. I was in high school like you when the war started. And what happened was most of the people who joined the war were the students in high school, and the government was going after them very hard because they are the enemy of the government. So that forced us to run away, some of us to join the movement, and some of us to flee the country to another country and get out. So I left my village and went to Khartoum in the northern Sudan, and then go to travel to Egypt, and then from Egypt I came to the United States. What happened? Sudan is the largest country in Africa in terms of land, and we have over about 600 ethnic groups, and we speak over 400 different languages. When the British came to Sudan, and I'm going to show you the map at the end to see it, they divided the country into 2, south and north. People in the north are people who speak Arabic, they are Muslims, and they are Arabs with the light skin. People in the south are black Africans. We were encouraged to convert to Christianity, and you can see my name is Franco, and English was introduced to have an official language. But as the British were leaving, they gave the power to the Arab and Muslims. And the Arab came up with a very narrow ideology that the country has to be Arabized and Islamized. And that was the big problem until today, of course, the 2 war. When the war started in 1983 in the Southern Sudan, it was a very heavy war. It went on for 22 years. Most of you may not hear that because it was not in the news. We lost 2 million people. Can you imagine today in the US, if you get up and you see the town or the city of Chicago is wiped up at night, and then tomorrow nobody talk about it in the news, it will be unusual in this country. And that is what happened in Southern Sudan. Nobody was asking about us. We were just fighting, and the war was going on until 2001, when the September 11 happened. Most of you were young, but you can remember the mastermind of September 11, Osama bin Laden. First, when he started his own organization, was sponsored by the Sudanese government for 6 years, and then this ship came to Afghanistan. In 2001, when September 11 happened and U.S. bombed Iraq and Afghanistan, the Khartoum government was concerned that they would be next. But the Bush administration did something different. He pushed for the peace between us and the Khartoum government, and the peace was signed in 2005. This is after we lost 2 million people. When the peace was signed, the agreement was that in 2011, the South Sudan is going to decide we will go for a referendum whether to be a part of the country or to be an independent country. I have to tell you, I'm from that area, like 85 to 90% of the people don't want to be a part of Sudan anymore because of what I told you. The philosophy of Arabization and Islamization made us to be a second citizen in our country, and we are not happy about that. In my life, when I was young, all what I saw in Sudan, and is still going on until today, is that if you are Arab and Muslims, the development will go on in your area, and if you are from the other tribe, you are left out and you are marginalized, and that is what caused all this trouble in Sudan. Most of you may have heard about Darfur. South Sudan is a little bit different from Darfur. We are the same. In Darfur, these are the black African, but they are Sunni Muslims. In Southern Sudan, we are black African, we are Christians, and we are in the different religions of African religions. In Southern Sudan, what happened is the same thing happened in Darfur. We lost 2 million people in Darfur. I think it's 500,000 people. The only difference between the war in Southern Sudan and in Darfur was the slavery. There was the abductions of the kids, young women and young girls in Southern Sudan, and they were taken to the slavery. In 2005, when the peace was signed, that was the time I became a United States citizen. And I